Hello and welcome back. If you're new, hello, welcome, feel free to subscribe. So today, let's answer that question. How do I find my clients? Now I've been asked this question quite a few times now, so I thought it best to get round to answering it. I will try and keep it short and sweet. How do I find my clients? My first answer is networking. Lots of networking. Now, a lot of people might be disheartened with that answer, but that's how I've done it, if I'm honest. I've actually got out and talked to people. So I have a full client list at the minute, which is really good going considering I've only been at this a month. But it has all been spread from one person really, and then been handed along. I did some work with one person and there was no monetary exchange. It was just I was testing things out before I went freelance full time, and helped her out, and I kept sort of giving her ideas, and I would write up sheets for her to do things, and we'd meet for coffee and have discussions, and she would go off then with a list of things that she was going to test out, and you know, we just had lots of discussions and plans, and I helped her out managing her media just to help clean it up and give her ideas moving forward. So that was from one person. She then handed me on to a second person, and I worked on a project with them. This first person also handed me on to a second person, and then that second person I'm actually still working with, and we've ongoing projects, handed me on to another person. So I now have a full list really in regards to that side of things. And my main client I actually met years ago at a networking event all about software testing, and it was very serendipitous that when I announced that I was moving into social media, etc., they were looking for somebody in that field. And it was very serendipitous. But if I didn't know that person, they wouldn't know that I was doing this thing, and they wouldn't know to hire me. So it has all been through networking, really. So that's how I met my clients, and those are my main clients that are bringing in my, you know, are paying my monthly bills, so to speak. I have a second list of clients, and I'm building that list at the minute, and they want to take part in the course that I'm going to be running. How did I find them? You guessed it, networking. And that was through events. So I went to meetups. And how did I find the meetups? I found them on Facebook groups. I found them on Facebook events. I found them on meetup.com kind of place, and on the likes of Eventbrite. And I joined mailing lists for the various things, so I would get notifications as to when events were going on. That is the best way I can figure to how to find events in your area. Now, if you're like myself and I have a very broad client base, I can work for anybody in any particular industry, so it's not niche specific. My main thing was to find people that needed help with their social media and that maybe didn't know where to start and were just being overwhelmed. So I wasn't going for big corporate people or anything like that. I wanted to find people that needed a hand, because I've kind of grown weary of the amount of bad information out there, and because social media has become this huge beast of a thing, I could see people were getting overwhelmed and they didn't know where to start, so they weren't starting at all. So I wanted to help them, and I wanted to have them grow their business and to actually have an online presence, because more often than not they had this really cool business but nobody would know about it because they're not online. So I went to all kinds of meetups. I still go to them. I've met some excellent people. So I go to a creative women's meetup. I go to digital women's, but that's more to have a support network and to talk to people in the same industry. But I also go to things like the Healthy Business Hub. So that's more aimed at massage therapists and life coaches and those sort of people. I go to all these different types of events because those are the people that I want to help the most. Small business people that just need a hand figuring it out. So that's where I went, and I would never really do a hard sell of any kind. I would just talk to them, ask them what they did, and more often than not they would reciprocate, and I would then explain what I did, and that's when they go, oh, maybe you can help me out. So that's where I've met my clients, and I was very fortunate that I got involved with these groups. I would be actively involved. And today, for example, I was given the opportunity to get up in front of a room full of women and explain what I did, and asked if any of them wanted to join in the course. I'm trying to keep it as budget friendly as possible, and if they wanted to, they could give me their details or I could give them mine, and I would add them to my email list so I could let them know when the event was going to go on. And the amount of people that asked for my information, I'm just really impressed. So even if a fraction of those people get involved, that's still worth my time. And it's just nice to see people supporting each other as well, because there was a lot of that going on. So networking. I'm aware there are going to be people that find networking events entirely overwhelming. Yeah, you're not alone. That doesn't mean they're not worth going to. You prep yourself, you have yourself a cup of tea and a good breakfast, make sure you get some sleep the night before. You go along and you aim to talk to 3 new people. It doesn't have to be everybody in their neighbour. You just aim to talk to 3 new people and tell them what you do and find out what they do and have a good conversation. Before you know it, you'll probably talk to 5, 6, 7, 8 new people, and then the event's over and then you get to go home and have a lie down and recover. You know, just because you put your best foot forward and you're all full of beans there, you can still come home and lie down afterwards and be exhausted. But I cannot recommend enough just going to the event in the first place. You don't maybe have to talk to anybody, you maybe just have to gauge the room and see what's going on and see if they're your kind of people. But definitely get out and talk to people, tell people what you do, because people will always recommend people. They won't recommend business. Does that make sense? So I'm more likely, if I hear person over there is looking for a really good photographer, I'm going to recommend this photographer person because she's my friend and I met her and she's really nice and I've seen her work and it's really good, so I'm going to send her over. I'm much more willing to do that than, well, I've heard of this business and they're really fancy and you should probably look at them. It's not how it works. People recommend people. So get up and talk to people. If you can't go to an event, find event like meetups online. So there are lots of groups, networking groups and things on the likes of Facebook. For example, Being Boss. It's a global community, and the amount of times people say, I'm looking for a VA, can anybody recommend anyone? And then they've got a list of 10 people already there. Get involved in those groups. No harm, no foul. And if you don't try it, you're not going to find out. My second recommendation, so networking, it's the main thing. Second recommendation is do your best work. Always and forever, do your best work. Do it to the best of your ability. Because networking, if you're not doing really good work for somebody, they are not going to recommend you and they will probably badmouth you. It's hard, that's how we work as people. We're more likely to say, oh, I got really angry with this person because they did X, Y, and Z. But in saying that, if you're really good at what you do and you really help somebody out and you put in loads of effort and you do your best work, if somebody hears that they're looking, if I hear that somebody's looking for that photographer, I'm like, oh, this person's really good and I worked with them before and they're epic, you should totally work with them. That's how it works. That's generally how things work. You can advertise till you're blue in the face and everything else and you will get a certain amount of uptake. But I am always much more trusting on anecdotal evidence. So if I am told by somebody that that person's really good, I'm more likely to believe them than seeing an ad pop up on my sidebar. Maybe that's limited in my thinking, but that's just the way my brain works and that's how I have done it. And that's how I've built my client list, that's how I've done it. And something I want to highlight because something happened today and I just wanted to raise it ever so slightly. Now, I'm a unique flower in this, possibly. I don't think so. I jumped ship on my freelancing, on my career, my 9 to 5, pretty quick. I didn't have a client list. I didn't have any paying clients. No, that's a lie. I had one. But I did not have enough to pay my monthly bills. So how on earth was I gonna do it? Networked. And I got out there and I talked to people. Do not let other people tell you that you cannot do this just because you don't have a full client list as soon as you go full-time freelance. You can totally do it. In fact, I often work better when my back is against the wall. I will get myself in gear and I will get that done. And that is exactly what I have done. I have pushed and pushed and pushed until I am full. And I have said yes to lots of things that I wouldn't normally have. And I've worked my rear off. I have been stung once, but I'm not going to dive into it. But at least I know for future to trust my gut. So I know it can seem very overwhelming, and especially if you aren't entirely clear on how your money is going to come in, etc., or who your actual clients are. start networking. Just get out to these events, get your name out there, tell people what you want to do, and they'll be like, oh, so could you help me with this? Because I started out as one thing. I was training people on how to use social media platforms and all that kind of good jazz. And now I've ended up doing like 3 or 4 different things, all related, but I've definitely transitioned. So, and that has been based on the work that I've done with my clients, and I've allowed myself the freedom to try out different types of work, and I'm really, really happy. So don't narrow your focus so much that you're limiting your client base as well. So that's maybe point 3. Don't narrow your focus so much that you're limiting yourself to only being able to work with A, B and C. Because if you broaden your horizons a bit, you can also work with D, E, F, G, H, half the alphabet. So allow yourself the freedom to work within your freelance career, figuring out exactly what it is you're doing, especially in those first few months. Give yourself a break, do your best work, get out and talk to people. It's how you're going to build your client list. And get up off your bum and go and do it. The final thing, get up and go and do it. Stop talking about doing it and just get on and do it. Because the amount of people I've met that were just like, oh, I'd love to do that, but I wouldn't know how to do this. Just get out there and do it. It's the best way of finding out. And I don't mean that in a harsh way. I'm not trying to make people feel bad that they're scared of doing something. We're all petrified of doing it. The difference in the people that get on and succeed is that they just get on and do it. So you need to do that. You need to get on and do it. Go talk to people, figure it out. You'll get there, don't you worry. And if you're keen enough and you work hard enough, it'll work. Trust in yourself, have faith in yourself, and you'll be grand. But I'm gonna go on. This has probably turned into a big waffly whatever. But I hope that that was helpful in some way, shape or form. If you have any other questions about it, let me know. I'm happy to answer them in the next video I do on this in 2 weeks. So, I'm gonna go on. I hope you don't mind the new posting time. I thought I'd test it out a wee bit before I go full tilt next week. I hope you're well and have a wonderful rest of your day whenever you're watching this. Thanks a million for watching. Please like, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!